Hello friends, today we're going to be talking about how to structure a lease option to buy. So how do you set up a lease option to buy that's the best for you as a home buyer? Well, by the end of this video, you're going to be able to master the art of crafting a lease option agreement that safeguards your interests. And for you as a potential home buyer, understanding this structure and how to set up this agreement can open creative doors to new opportunities. So what are the critical elements that make a lease option work? How can both parties ensure that their needs and their financial goals are both met with this type of agreement? So as I unpack the complexities of lease options, I first want to explain what a lease option is and how it works. Secondly, even though we're talking about the buyer, I want you to understand the seller side of a lease option. And finally, I'll explain how to structure a lease option that safeguards you as the buyer and puts you in the best possible situation to succeed. If you're ready to jump in, let's go. So essentially, a lease option or a rent-to-own strategy is a longer-term lease that gives you the option to buy a home or an asset at a certain date in the future at a certain price negotiated from day one. Most people are familiar with the term stock option, and so I'll utilize that as an example. So if you have a stock that you want to purchase, and let's say you believe that stock's going to go up, and the stock currently is at $30, and you want the option to buy this stock at $30, but you want to do it 6 months down the road. Now you're going to have to pay an option price to secure the ability to buy the stock at $30 6 months down the road. And let's say that that cost you $3, right? Now to do that, and they typically come in 100 contracts, so we're talking $300 because one contract is $3. If you have 100 of them, that's $300. So $300 to be able to buy 100 contracts of that at 6 months down the road. And let's say the stock goes up to $40. You can now exercise your option and you can then buy the stock at $30, and you could turn around the very next day and sell it for $40. So a lease option or rent-to-own option works very similar to that, where you lock in a price today and you execute the purchase of that home 12 months, 24 months, 36 months down the road. But understanding lease option and its components is also vitally important. So what are those? Well, first and foremost, it is the option price. Just like in a stock, you have to pay the price upfront right now for the ability to buy that home at a certain price at a certain date in the future. And typically that option price is anywhere between 2 to 7% of the purchase price of the home. So if you've got a home that's $300,000, at 2%, you're at $6,000. At 5%, you're at $15,000. At 7%, you're at $21,000. So that is going to be negotiated. The cool thing about it though, is that option price can go towards the home purchase when you buy it. So let's say you paid $15,000 for the option to buy it at $300,000 down the road. When you execute on that home 2 years from now and you actually buy it, instead of paying $300,000, you will have paid $285,000, discounting that $15,000 you already paid as the option price off of the home. The other aspect is the price of the home. That's negotiated up front right now. And obviously as a buyer, you want to get that as low as you can. And then there's going to be the lease agreement. Just like any other rental agreement, it's going to detail out responsibilities of the landlord, responsibilities of the tenant, and the price. Now with this lease agreement, one thing that's unique about lease option is there is a clause that whatever the lease payment is every single month, you can negotiate with the seller how much of that lease payment you want counted towards your down payment of the home whenever you execute on it. And that accumulates every single month until you purchase the home. So a quick example, let's say that you're buying a home for $300,000 and your monthly payment is $2,000, and you've negotiated with the seller that $200 of that $2,000 monthly payment will be counted towards your down payment. So if you have $200 a month times 24 months, that's $4,800. That $4,800 that you've paid over 24 months as part of your lease payment will then be utilized as part of your down payment, which is another cool aspect of lease options. So that's another component that you need to be aware of. Now, as we look at all the components of lease option, one thing that you need to be aware of, that lease option, that option price that you're paying, in the example I used was $15,000. If you do not buy the home from the seller 24 months down the road or whatever the lease term is, then you forfeit getting that $15,000 back or whatever the option price was that you paid. That's one of the benefits to the seller of doing a lease option. Now let's understand each party's role when it comes to lease options the buyer and the seller. As a landlord or as a seller, this can be a great tool if the market isn't seeing much movement. You can get a buyer in your home living there, paying all of your expenses, and you know that a certain date down the road they're going to execute on that because you've gotten money up front for the option for them to purchase the home at said price at a certain date down the road. And if they don't, you keep that option money. So it's a great tool if you're in a market where there isn't a lot of inventory that's moving. So now let's talk about how you as the buyer can set up this lease agreement to benefit you as much as you can. First off, one of the cool things about this, you can think of it as the opportunity to test drive, so to speak, a home, right? If you go check out a car, you can test drive the car, see if you like it. A lease or rent to own strategy, lease option, gives you the ability to test drive that home and live there for 12 months, 24 months, 36 months to really get a good feel for that home. Now you are paying an option price to live there, but if you ultimately decide it is not worth the money that I'm paying this and I live there, I'm foregoing my option money, then it is an opportunity to test drive the home. It also gives you the opportunity to lock in a price and purchase that price 24 months or 36 months down the road. And if the market is appreciating or going to appreciate, you're in a really good situation. Now, if the market does go down, there's definitely a negative side effect to that. But if you look at people who did lease options, say back in 2021, 2020, and they had a price set in mind, and all of a sudden, let's say it was a home that was $300,000, and they planned to buy that at $310,000 2 years down the road, and the appreciation happened like it did, that home might have been worth $400,000. And they could have bought it at $310,000 and turned around the next day and sold it for $400,000. With that happening, I remember reading in the news, there was a handful of lawsuits because many of the sellers that were selling the home and saw their homes appreciate so much did not want to agree to sell their home at that lower price when the market had gone up so much so quick. So that is also a potential benefit for you as the buyer. So let's talk about a little bit deeper the structure that's going to benefit you the absolute most as the buyer. First and foremost, I would try to get that option price as low as you can. As I mentioned earlier, a typical option price is 2 to 7% of the overall purchase price. So once again, using the example of a $300,000 home, 2% is $6,000, 7% is $21,000. You can negotiate anywhere in there, but it doesn't mean you can't shoot for less. Could you get into it with an option price of $3,000? You absolutely could. It's all in that negotiating process. So I would work really hard to get that option price as low as you can. The second thing is the overall price of the home. Obviously, that's going to be important because 2 years from now, 3 years from now, you're going to have to execute at that price. So if you find a home that you want and you can get the price just like any other purchase you're going to do, you want to get that price as low as you can. And if they're asking a certain price and you could get 5%, 10% lower than that, and you can do it 12 months, 24 months, 36 months down the road, that is going to benefit you so much more. And another thing that you really want to take into consideration when you are renting this home, you want to factor in and negotiate with the seller a larger percentage of the monthly lease payment that'll go towards your down payment. Let's say that he says, hey, rent for this home and I'll count $2,000 or 10% towards your down payment. The rental price is $2,000 or the lease price is $2,000. So $200 is going to count towards that. Even if you could bump that $25 or $50 over the course of 12, 24, 36 months, that's going to add up. So even by negotiating that amount of your lease payment every single month to go towards the down payment by increasing it just a tad is going to make a world of difference when you factor time into that. And the last piece of the puzzle is when you're negotiating it for your benefit is the length of the lease. Now, you understand your situation better than anybody, right? So if you realize that it's going to take you maybe 24 months to get all your finances in order to be able to purchase a home, I might extend it out 24 months or 36 months. The longer you need, I would extend it maybe a little bit more. There's no definition or no reason why you have to do 12, 24, or 36. Could it be 18 months? Could it be 30 months? Could it be 42 months? It absolutely could. You are in control of setting that lease term, and you knowing your situation, you want to set it up in such a way that you know for sure your financial house will be in order so you can actually purchase the home through a bank, through a traditional loan, and if you need an additional 4 months or 6 months added on to that, you might even be able to add on a waiver or an add-on to be able to extend that if needed. So if you're the buyer and you do these things of negotiating the option price as low as you can, while at the same time negotiating a certain percentage of the lease monthly payment higher than normal going towards your down payment, and if you can extend the lease for exactly what you want and you negotiate a really good price on the home, you have done everything to set yourself up to buy a home utilizing a lease option in a way that benefits you as the buyer. Now, these are things that I've seen work really well if you are the buyer, if I were the buyer, but I'd love your feedback. So please comment below, give me your feedback. Let's engage in a dialogue and a conversation. And as always, just for stopping by, I've got a 100% no obligation free gift for you. It is my short-term rental calculator. You put in the price of the home, the income, the expenses, and it'll actually do all the work for you and spit out to you whether it's a good deal or not. And it's 100% free. Just click on the link below, aaronsfreetraining.com. Thanks for stopping by. Have an amazing day.